It's graduation season, and with that, my sister's getting kicked off my mother's mobile plan. What that means for her is she's switching to Mint Mobile because when you're a college student, you don't have a fat wallet.
She's actually pretty lucky, though, about getting over to Mint Mobile because of the savings and the quality of wireless service that Mint Mobile provides.
Say bye-bye to overpriced wireless plans with jaw-dropping monthly bills and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue.
All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk, text, and delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along because if you're like me, you've had it since 2007.
I love that we can carry our phone number. This is going to make me seriously want to ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. That is ridiculous.
So this year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/booktalk. That's mintmobile.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5 GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. No matter how full my closet gets, I swear I have nothing that I want to wear, which is why I'm super grateful for Armoire, because with their clothing rental membership, I get to have access to high quality, unique brands tailored just for me. All I had to do was take a 5-minute style quiz, and it was scary accurate with how much they knew my style. And by some kind of magic, it was delivered at my door within 2 days. If I want to try something new or swap out styles, I just send it. No laundry required. Best thing. Armoire is great for so many reasons. It can help define your personal style. It's super spot on. And also it's sustainable because I don't have to feel bad about if I wear an outfit one time and I just want to try something new. I can rent things, try them out, and keep swapping and not have to worry about waste. Plus, you're always going to have something to wear without hassle or clutter in your closet, which is what I really relate to. And no matter what occasion you have, whether it's a date or a work conference or a black tie event, you'll be the best dressed person in the room without even stepping a foot into the fitting room. This is fantastic because I've literally bought an entire outfit before just to go to one party. Armoire can also help if your body is changing, whether that's a fitness journey or during pregnancy. I know I've recommended this to a lot of the new moms that I know in my life, because your body's changing and you want to feel great and amazing. And one of my favorite things is that Armoire is women owned and led. They even spotlight women owned designers on their website. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That is up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/booktalk. That's Armoire, ARMOIRE.style/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get 50% off your first month.
This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's HAY space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This spring, we are hosting a book club while we prepare our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Crown of Midnight.
This is Jac.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll discuss one book from our spring book club roster. By using our literary backgrounds, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This week, we're discussing A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen.
The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel. The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to read along and share their own analysis of the text. All right, let's start this biznitch. We read A Fate Inked in Blood. Hands up.
Buttercup.
Let's do this.
You go first.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I've done this to you the last like 2 episodes. Was you go first. Okay, I actually thought about this. No, I didn't. A very Danielle Jensen type of book that is Norse.
Okay.
I'll get into more about that soon.
Yeah, because this is my first Danielle Jensen book.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to say? There's so many things I could say.
You only get 10 words.
Saucy and lovable protagonist. I can't wait for more.
Yeah. Heads up for everyone. We listened. We did not read. Amy, this is her first Danielle Jensen. I am familiar with the Bridge Kingdom, and we will go into themes. Do we want to do themes first, or what I meant by?
Let's do themes first.
Okay. I have one. I have one.
Go
theme.
ahead.
I love this theme because it is the opposite of found family. It is family sucks.
Yeah.
Family trauma. Family sucks. Walking away from family.
Yeah, and we see that in both characters, right? That for Bjorn, his real family basically abandoned him, and he's being used by his found family.
Yeah.
And so nobody is putting him first. And then with Freya, her real family uses her, and her found family uses her too.
Yeah. No one's found. No one's had. It just it's such a Danielle Jensen type of thing where it's like, hey, you don't even get found family. You don't get family. You get no one.
I love it. What I like about it is it requires independence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It requires the protagonist to identify their own source of strength to be able to pursue whatever the end goal is. You know, at the end of the day, Freya and Bjorn, who are kind of two sides of the same coin, are each other's found family. But they're even struggling with that because, you know, they can't a slow burn.
Trust each other, and that's his stepmom. And
yeah.
I think what I love about a walk away from your family trope, as someone who loves their family and is very with their family, but there's still elements, I think, at any point, no matter how much you love your family, no matter how much you get along with them, you have to learn to walk away in many aspects. That is the type of strength that we don't see represented in books. I mean, we are in, I can't do math, how many books we're in with book club at this point, and almost every single one, if not every single one, is about found family. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's something that we should all look towards, but you just don't get. Sometimes your family sucks and you need to ditch them.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of books are about the end of that journey, about finally finding the found family, right? Finding the people who can become your found family. Whereas Freya's just at the start of her journey of shedding her family. And the found family part doesn't come for a long time.
Yeah.
Just in general, in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even show up in this book.
Life. Yeah. In life, it takes a while too.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that representation because it is an essential part of everybody's journey. And I don't think there's enough representation of the struggle that goes into finding those four people in your life.
And it's so hard because I know there's a lot of people who end up being in, and now this is not a critique. If you are happy with the core people you have around you, then be happy with the core people. But I also know there's a lot of times that people just kind of like life happens and then they wake up and they're just like, I don't really have friends.
Yeah.
And that's so hard. And I think that it's so hard to like go through life. And I think that's what your 20s are for, is like to go through life and still fight to have your friends. Because it's very easy to get caught up in life and to not be like, these are relationships and like found family and like, you know, focus on you, but make them priority in different ways. That's not a priority that takes over your life. And it's like, it's a balance and it's a strength and it's a skill, but it's also ultimately a very relieving thing because otherwise you end up like, okay, let's just get this out of the way. I'm not saying any name correctly other than Freya.
There's a pronunciation guide with audio clips on Danielle's website, I discovered.
I'm not going to. I
will try to help. I will try to help.
So Bjorn.
Bjorn.
I can't even remember what I was saying anymore. But Bjorn and Freya are, go ahead. I totally missed my point. Anyway, I'm going to go to the other point that I wanted to do. So Bjorn and Freya, right, like you're saying, they're at the beginning of their journey, and it shows that they're still trying to figure out themselves because they can get caught up in their relationship, right? Bjorn's like, let's leave. Let's get out of here. They can get caught up. And then Freya's also like, hey, there's a lot of things that I think I need to do of what makes me me. Now, this is what I mean about a very Danielle Jensen book. Like you said, Amy, a lot of books, we kind of get the like at the start of a book being their family kind of sucks. And then the found family happens in the middle and the end. And that's what we get. And I love those books.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Jensen is not afraid to make a reader uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
The Bridge Kingdom is one of the most uncomfortable reads, and I mean that in the best way possible. She goes there in a way where even at the beginning of this one, I won't spoil anything for Bridge Kingdom because I do want you to read that one day. But even at this one, at the beginning, where I was like, she's not going to marry the king. There's going to be something that happens. Someone's going to intervene, and I think with a lot of books that would have happened. But it's like, nope. She's going to marry the king. He's going to manipulate her and exercise control over her. And the whole uncomfortable found family, it's not without its really uncomfy journey. And Danielle is incredible because she loves making a reader really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love it because I feel like it emulates real life where there's not always a knight in shining armor to come and save you. And so you have to either make the best of your situation or be your own savior in your circumstance. And that's what Freya has to learn herself in this journey. Going back to themes, love how this is about, similar to the family aspect, it's about duty. And when is duty not enough reason when people take advantage of what you view as your duty, or when they force duty upon you.
Ooh, I like that.
And we see that with Bjorn, we see that with Freya, we see that with a lot of different individuals. And I can't wait to see in the follow-up, which thank God comes out next month.
I know, and it's only a duology.
I know.
Bring back duologies. This is incredible.
Yeah. More and more duologies need to exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved the scene with Freya's mother. It is so uncomfortable. It is awful. And you know what? I'm glad she gets an arrow through the heart.
Right? This is why I do love Danielle Jensen so much. There was a point in the book, and this is when Freya had already met her other motherly figure who ends up dying in her arms, and she's devastated. And when I was reading that part, I was like, I'm okay that there's no female friendship because she has female mother. You know, like she has that mother connection, which is, you know, is your first female relationship and dictates the way that you handle friendship, right?
Right.
Now, there was a point where I was like, we haven't gotten a single thing about the mom. Just that she's worried about her mom. Just that she's like, well, I need to be there for my mom. We haven't had a single thing about her. And at first I was like, well, and I just kind of like bookmarked it in my head of like thinking, okay, I'm going to have to talk about that. And that was just kind of interesting. And then we see the mom, and then suddenly I understand why we haven't had any thoughts about the mom, because how are you supposed to cope with a mom who is that horrible?
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I had the same thoughts as I was progressing throughout the book of mom's never mentioned, except in very small bits and pieces. And the fact that Froggy liked her and wanted to make sure Freya always gave her the best fish was a slight indication to me of like, I don't think mom's great. And that's why Freya doesn't think about mom too much, because then she has to reconcile how uncool her mother is. Yeah. And then we see mom and I'm like, yep. That's why you don't think about your mother.
The amount of clues, like the Froggy giving her, you know, the best fish. The fact that she's even married to Froggy, right? Yeah. That, like, it's no secret he sucks. He would breach whales just to save him, kill him. Yeah, just for fun. That's not like that started the year he got married to her, right? Like, that's a continued behavior. The fact that we don't get mentions, the fact that she is so drawn to this other motherly warrior figure, the fact that she is so devastated and she wants to learn from her and she wants to make her proud. That was the other thing when, you know, they're sitting at the fire and she says something and she goes, okay, she didn't like that answer. And then she says another thing and she goes, okay, well, maybe she'll like this answer. And I just want to make her proud of me. Yeah. Every single thing was such a clue leading up to the mom. So even though we don't get much of the mom until the very end, the silence speaks volumes.
Absolutely. And I think Danielle does that extremely well.
Yeah. She's really good. We saw her at Romantasy Con. She did a speaking event, didn't she, that we went to?
I don't think we went to her speaking event. I think we missed it, but we did go get our books signed by her.
She was cool.
We do have a signed copy of Fate, Inked in Blood for a giveaway, by the way.
Do we also have Bridge Kingdom to give away?
I can't remember.
I know I got Bridge Kingdom for myself, so...
I think
Was that the one that we had to ask the other women to sign for us? Like, can you take our books and you can get those signed?
Maybe.
I think it was one of our first ones that we did.
No, that was Trisha Levenseller.
Oh, you're right. Who's Danielle Jensen?
Her assistant was named Amy, but she was blonde. And she was in the same room as Hannah Nicole on the first day.
Oh, we got her at the end.
She was really, really tired. We were like one of the last people.
Yeah, I remember her. We were the last people, and you and I were just like,
thank you so much.
Thank you, goodbye. Thank you, goodbye.
We didn't even ask for a picture because we were like,
yeah,
we know it's the end of the day. Thank you so much.
And she was such a sweetheart. She was like,
she was
like, I'll take a photo, and you and I were like, no, you've done the work. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is her. Oh, it was Trisha that we saw at the talk. All right. Well, this makes all more sense in my head. Yeah. Danielle Jensen is a very talented writer where everything has a purpose. You know, at every point in the story, I feel like she sometimes goes against these tropes. So first she leans into a trope that Bjorn has to protect her, that she has to be with him at every point, and that
forced proximity.
And I'm like, yes, give me this trope. And then it just does, even though they get together, it just doesn't pan out that way entirely. Like, you don't get these sexy moments with them, in the cave. Like, yes, there's tension. Yes, there's these other moments, but she doesn't really go for it until she meets her mother figure. And there's a certain safety there.
And by the cave, you're talking about the secret path.
Yeah.
Through the mountain up to the sacred temple.
Yeah.
Because there's another cave at the end of the story where they do get it on.
Caves are a really popular theme here.
That's an interesting point that Freya and Bjorn don't really get it on until after all her parental figures have died.
No, they fool around in the cave and she's still alive. The mother figure, the warrior mother.
Yeah, but mom is still alive at that point too.
Yeah, okay, but like they fool around, but they don't have sex until everyone's dead.
Right.
Yes,
Sorry. Yes. And I guess that's what I mean. They don't cross the finish line with sex.
We'll call it penetrative sex.
They don't get to penetrative sex.
Yes.
Until after all the real and fake parental figures in Freya's life are dead.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting. How much is that intentional? I understand the mother being a breaking point, but is there something else symbolic about that? That all the people who have expectations of her, who would judge her for going against her marriage to, what's his name?
The king guy. I'm not Strogie. Because I wanted to call him Stroganoff.
Yeah, it's
Stogie.
Something E. It's like Froggy, but
there's an S and there's a T and there's an E. Do you want to look him up?
Snorri?
No.
Wait. Snotty.
Yeah.
It's
like snot.
It's an R, but it sounds like a T for us because we are bad with our T's. Snotty.
Yeah.
Snotty.
Snorri. I wonder if we have anyone who actually can pronounce and say this correctly, who can correct us and judge us.
Maybe if they're from like Iceland.
Is it Iceland? Norway?
Could Norse? Be. I mean, it's all up in Scandinavia, all of that area.
Just send us a note, guys, and make us feel good or bad. It's up to you. Okay, so Strogi.
Snorri.
All right, what about him?
So Freya does not go all the way with her adultery.
Yeah.
And goes against her relationship or not her relationship, but her marriage to Snorri until all her parental figures are dead. Because there's no one left to judge her, quote unquote, which is not true. Everyone knows that she's not faithful to him, and everyone can tell that she's in love with Bjorn. And everyone's judging her for it.
Well, here's the best part. It's not even parental figures, it's mother figures. Because you can argue that her brother is a parental figure, right? It's her older brother. He has to say he's still alive. It's when the mother figures, who even the mother figure, the one who dies, I know, you're going to look her up. I can't remember her name.
It starts, Bodhi. It's Bodhi, but with an L at the end that sounds silent. Bodhi.
Even Bodhi, who was a good mother figure, we'll say. I mean, there probably is layers that she's not. But like one that cares about Freya, right? She even judges, or at least warns of that relationship. Like, she makes it known that she knows, and it's not like a wink wink, hey girl, get it on.
Right. It's you're not as subtle as you think. You should be
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah. And I feel like Freya taking the women in her life, the mother figures in her life, their opinion of her more seriously. I like it. I like it. You know, we get that so many times of daddy issues. We don't get mommy issues covered enough in books.
I agree. I do like it. Even though her actual father, I think his name is Eric, is dead, he did his best to protect her, and she recalls his protection. Her brother's Gale. Gale, to some extent, comes across as protective of her, especially in the beginning.
I mean, for 2 lines, for 2 sentences.
She interprets it as protective.
Yeah. They hug, and then that's it.
Right. Whereas the female figures in her life, her mother, her best friend, like, she goes through the wedding and is like, I just wanted my best friend to say you didn't need to do it. Even
thank you. Just to say thank you. I'm sorry. I hate this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any of that. All of the above. And just saying one of those things, anything. It's actually funny. One of our friends, I lent them my sunglasses, cheap sunglasses. They're not important. And they broke. And she was like, oh yeah, that sucks. Cause she left them she ended up not using them, and she left them in the car. But while they were in the car, they eventually broke. And I was like, yeah. And then as we were about to walk out, and I was like, hey, you didn't apologize. And it doesn't matter. I don't care about those sunglasses, but you didn't apologize. And that sucks. And then she was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry for the glasses, and I'm sorry that I didn't apologize. Yes. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool.
Those are the things, you're supposed to, even if you know it's performative, even if you, and this is the case for Freya and her friend.
Yeah. Ingrid. Yeah.
Ingrid, that even if it's performative, even if you don't want them to accept your offer, you still say, I'm sorry, don't do this, I'll do it. Or just I'll buy gratitude. You new sunglasses.
Or yeah. But it's just gratitude. You know what I mean? I mean, not for the sunglasses, but for you, one, you killed your husband for me. 2, you're marrying yourself off so that you can save your brother and therefore save me. It's, you're doing all these things. And if you would never even if you don't want to give up everything that you've got, right? Your friend gave you the life that you wanted. Even if all that happened and you're not willing to give it up, thank you. Just I don't know what I could do to repay you. I am so sorry that this is what you have sacrificed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess that's another theme, right? The lack of, I was going to say lack of compassion, but obviously, but just the lack of ownership too. Or maybe the lack of ownership. Because I think I can't remember. Snorri. His absolute lack of ownership of situations, right? It's all about the gods. It's all about Freya needs to do this. This isn't my fault. The gods are saying that this is a test.
Yeah. And maybe instead of ownership, because we use that a lot in the context of possession.
Yes.
Maybe we say accountability.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge lack of accountability on most everybody's part. It's always somebody else's fault, usually Freya's, usually
or the gods. Yeah.
No one accepts that there are consequences to their actions.
And I would even throw Bjorn in that too. I think he may not blame Freya, he may not blame the gods, but I think when you understand the plot twist at the end, you can see him blaming his situation and his adoptive father. The entire time he's telling her, let's just leave. Let's just go. We don't have to be here. Let's just go. What if we left? And, they were in the final cave, the cave of sex. Even before that, he just wasn't invested in anything.
Yeah.
And those were other great clues that we had with Bjorn. Could you tell that there was going to be that plot twist coming up at the end?
I knew he was untrustworthy the second that he snuck out of the ward protected hall that they were in by the temple. I knew he was keeping a secret. I knew he was probably communicating with his old father. I knew all that. I knew he was going to turn on Snotty. Yeah. I thought he genuinely wanted to take her and leave and never come back.
Yeah.
That's the clincher for me.
What's funny is at one point when he does go, he leaves the hall and then Freya goes after him and then she sees the other king just kind of talking to a woman and she says something about you do anything for your kid or your child. At one point in my head, I was like, that'd be crazy if that was his mom. You know what I mean? I was like that because I knew it wasn't going to be whatever her other name is, the mother, the first wife. You're going to look up every single name.
It's okay. It's okay. I will not.
Okay. It just, I can't remember if it begins with an E or an I.
I think it's an I, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. No, because there's only 2 I's. So I knew it was going to not be her. Like, it's one of those things where they're like trying to set you up so much of like,
it's a red herring.
It's her.
Yeah.
And it was like, we all know it wasn't going to be her. So, but when that line happened, I thought it'd be crazy if that was his mom, but never actually believing that that's his mom.
Yeah. But it wasn't his mom. But his mom is alive.
No, I think it was his mom.
I thought it was the bard.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
I thought it was the bard, the woman who sings the songs.
Yeah, probably. But it was like that for his mom. Like the sentiment was for his mom. We were getting the specter who was his mom. But it's not. But they assumed. I thought it was his mom giving her messages. Still giving her messages.
I don't remember. I'll be honest. I'm a book ahead, so I'm just like, what? I thought they assumed it was his mother because she quote unquote died in a fire. I don't know where the messages were actually coming from.
From what I remember, but there were some parts that was like very confusing for me, like especially at the end where I'm like, I'll circle back to this, like of this revelation. But I thought it was his mom who was kind of like trying to get Freya to go to certain parts. But then at the same time, then why would his mom lead her to the runes, the tree with the runes also? Right. So maybe it's not his mom.
I think it's the gods.
Trippy.
Speaking of gods, let's talk about the twist where she is
the 2 gods.
2 gods. That was pretty obvious to me from the beginning.
Yeah. The like Freya of 2 bloods. The second that a character dismisses something,
you're like,
I know what you're doing. I see it. But at the same time, I think you and I are just like very programmed that way to look at it and not trust a single thing. But at the same time, I do think that the clues that she had did get bigger and bigger. Yeah. Right. Yes. And clues were narrow. You and I spotted it pretty quickly. I was like, nope, you're not clarifying something for nothing. Yeah. And then they started getting bigger and bigger. And then I thought that was such a good progression in writing and revealing something so that by the end, we knew that there were 2 gods inside her. You could guess, right? Right. But then to discover which god it was is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's helpful, honestly, that I'm not as familiar with all the Norse gods, and Freya makes many comments on how there are many of them.
Yeah.
But it helps that I knew there was another god. I didn't know which god.
I knew it was a bad one.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Yeah. I still don't know who's that other god. I know it's a woman, and I know she's bad, and I know no one's been possessed by her.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to guess it's something to the effect of like a god of the underworld or a god of anger or vengeance or something.
Yeah. It's a bad one.
It's a bad one.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how it goes. What I liked about the whole journey and the progression of the writing and the reveal is that you can see how anger has always been a part, and talking back and acting out has always been a part of Freya. It's been there since the beginning, but how it's escalated the more that she allows the god to possess her. And so it begs the question of how much is nature versus
nurture or
quote unquote. Yeah, quote unquote nurture, more like god possession, but we're going to call it nurture.
I think that's actually a great example of, like nurture, the god possession. But yeah, like it very much is a question of like at that point of who is she. And Bjorn makes a comment at one point saying you can learn how to separate them from you.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge part of that journey. And it's funny because I think that she, when it comes to the shield goddess, right?
Shield maiden.
She's the shield maiden, but
Lean.
the goddess Lean. Yeah. When it comes to Lean, she can differentiate Lean to her. And we can too. It's that empathetic side of her, and it's the side that she wants to be. So you can start to identify it, right? Freya herself is a sassy gal. You know, she's very sassy Viking. Like, let's go raid. Like, it's so funny at the beginning. She's like, all I want to do is go raiding. And then after the first raid, she's like, I don't think I want to go raiding.
I don't want this.
I don't think this is what I want, guys.
Yeah.
I regret my choice. But like, you can see how she naturally gravitates to both sides. And isn't that human nature, right? Like, this is another wonderful metaphor of human nature, of how we have this side that wants to protect. And you could argue that both of these Oh, okay. Both of these goddesses are the both mother figures that she's had. You have the warrior mother figure who is like that protector that like, let me teach you. This is how you can fight. That's Lean. And then you have her mother who's a massive bitch. And that's the other goddess.
Is it Hal? Is
We'll
that
never
the
know.
goddess's name?
I'm going to put on lip gloss.
Hale. And do you know how Hale is spelled? Hel. Hale.
I was about to say, I swear, if it's like, do you know how hell is spelled? A Jug. You know, that Norse pronunciation of hell.
In Norse mythology, Hale is the goddess of death and the ruler of the underworld. I called it.
Hell yeah.
I called it.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You did it.
I did it.
Good job. I love that she's possessed by goddesses. This is a very female-forward book. Even though she is constantly controlled by men, this is a female-forward book, which is why I'm not going to give like a whole lot of, where's her female friendship? It's like, no.
Yeah.
She has mothers who are fucking her up left and right.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about it is the women are just as bad as the men.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, yes, there's misogyny on the male side, but the female side is no better because they are part of a misogynistic society.
Yep.
And so the character, the protagonist, has to learn to only be about herself and learn about helping other women who are like her in her situation, metaphorically similar situations.
Yeah. I mean, every woman there is selfish because of a man. Even the first wife,
Ylva.
Ylva? Did you look it up?
I did. Ylva. It's
Ylva.
Ylva.
Ylva. Even Ylva is selfish for reasons that I can understand. She wants to take care of her son. And it's also like understandable. Why should Bjorn be the leader? He wasn't raised there. He wasn't from there. You know, he
doesn't know anybody.
No, I mean, other than the fact that, like, you know, he's from a product, it's very like Game of Thrones, Jon Snow. Like, he's a product of your adultery, which we'll probably find out. Although I can believe that Snotty is probably, like, it might, you know, he probably assaulted the mom or something like that.
Right,
you know?
right.
But other than that, she actually has a lot of good reasons as to why Bjorn should not be the leader there. And it's so funny because you would think in many ways, I actually was kind of waiting for her and Bjorn to be secret allies.
Oh, interesting.
Like, because they both want the same thing. But at the same time, like, there was a moment, not the whole book, but there was a moment I was like, ooh, what if they're actually working together? And they agreed, like, we hate each other, but I don't want to be here.
I could honestly see them becoming allies in the future.
Yep.
As long as Snotty doesn't get in the way of that.
Yeah, I kind of would like a redemption arc from her.
Yeah, I think Ylva, I don't know if deserves is the right word, but I think Ylva is worthy of a redemption arc. Snotty just needs to die.
Snotty is the worst. Ylva is a product of her situation.
Yeah.
All she's wanted to do is take care of her people. And Freya points out many times, well, I just expected her to, you know, leave, or I expected her to be, you know, resting, and she's actually out there taking care of her people. And every choice that she makes is for her people of, we need to go, we need to hide, we need to take care of them. And so it's like, there's actually a fair amount of her like showing that she is compassionate.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, Ylva is the queen that makes up for Snorri, who fails to be a king.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? She has all the qualities of a good ruler. There's just happens to be this internal family strife that we get focused on, but the people around her love her. And that there's a reason why.
There absolutely is a reason why. Like, you can't fake that. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you can really hide behind.
Yeah.
If this person, if this woman, if this queen or lady or whatever, you know, before they become queen, but if this, you know, individual is hoarding wealth, is hoarding food, that's going to be known very quickly. No one's going to walk away with that. No one's going to get away with that. But that's not the case. People do judge and don't like Freya because now she's the second wife. So I also liked the devotion between Snotty and
Ylva.
Thank you. I was like, this is so hard for me. Ylva, I do like their relationship. I do like that I don't like their relationship. I like their commitment to one another because it's so unexpected.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Jac, when's the last time you went to the doctor? Because you are notorious for avoiding it.
I will find every excuse in the book, like I'm too busy, but for the first time ever, I used ZocDoc and I was in the very next day for my dermatologist appointment. It was so easy and absolutely incredible how I was able to put in my insurance information and they showed all of the doctors that were within network and their availabilities, and I've never been able to go to a doctor the next day.
I am so jealous. It takes 4 months for me to see my dermatologist.
Well, not with ZocDoc. Now you can find someone who's in your area.
ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment.
We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more, like dermatologists.
You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients.
Once you find the right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit. It was so easy.
Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, and if you're like Jac, it's the next day. Other appointments typically take within just 24 to 72 hours of booking.
Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/booktalk to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today.
That's ZocDoc.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK. ZocDoc.com/booktalk. As most people can guess, commuting in LA sucks. And so I've started taking the train. And the best thing about that is I get to read my romance books on the go.
And if you're like me and you're not commuting, you like to stay up till 2 a.m. reading Galatea, trying to get one more chapter.
Galatea is a reading app where anyone craving a little me time can dive into a library of romance stories that leave you feeling recharged and fulfilled.
There are over 1,000 bestsellers to choose from, and if you can't figure out what you want, they have Shifter Romance, Bad Boy Billionaire, Forbidden Love, Werewolf Alpha, Slow Burn Fantasy, Teen Drama, and so much more.
Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, with new chapters dropping daily, so there is always something new to explore.
Don't worry, you're not going to be alone. Over 30 million people have fallen in love with reading on Galatea. Join now to indulge in stories that make you feel like yourself again.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to Galatea.com/booktalk.
That's GALATEA.com/BOOKTALK to indulge in unlimited stories for even less.
That's Galatea.com/booktalk.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
I feel like Danielle Jensen likes to go against tropes. I feel like the trope would almost be he's going to be this creepy ass man who's going to try to assault her or threaten sex against her. He never threatens sexual violence against her. He never threatens these types of things of like, I own you. I'm like, even though I'm married, I get access to your body.
Right.
Instead, he's extremely devoted to his wife.
Right. And for both of them, the idea of the sexual possession of Freya is unappealing.
Yeah.
They are very happy to find a loophole, quote unquote loophole, to make it feel like they've consummated their marriage without consummating their marriage. And honestly, if Snotty wasn't so selfish and self-indulgent and assumed the prophecy about a king is about him, he probably wouldn't be half that bad.
If he wasn't so evil in his pursuit of power and, taking over the world, he would totally be a good guy.
What I'm really saying is that all these characters are insanely complex.
Yes, because you don't have that. I mean, I don't want to be like, hey, he's not threatening sexual violence. He's a really good guy. You know what I mean? He's not. But I think that is something that we mentioned in SJM's writing, that whenever there's like a truly evil character, there's some kind of like, he'll make a threat about sexual violence of some sort, because there's no coming back from that, right?
Right.
It's easy to write this book, to write a character off when you have a author who's a woman who knows that the majority of their audience is going to be women. You have a male character who threatens or acts upon sexual violence. There's no coming back from that. There is immediate, this is man's evil. No one's going to support this, right? She does not choose that path. And it makes it so much harder because, like you said, he is now complex. He is a committed husband who loves his wife, who does want to make his own kingdom and his people prosper.
Right.
He also is totally shit.
Right. Yeah. And I think ultimately what happens, which we see in a lot of different ways, Danielle is subverting the trope. The power-mongering ruler is also a devoted husband. They're opposites, right? Because normally we assume the powermonger, the one that's going after the throne and taking down other Jarl.
All of that, yeah.
You assume he's going to be a fuckboy.
Absolutely. You don't say raiding without some kind of like, I think, rape and pillaging.
Right, exactly.
That's, when I think raiding, I think that's all a part of it. There's not, that culture isn't set amongst his people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
In the sense that he doesn't get a pass, but it's that like added layer of complexity that Danielle likes to add. And that's, I'm like, I do love a Danielle Jensen book. It's so stressful. It's so stressful. I think it's in her first book of the Bridge Kingdom.
Called The Bridge Kingdom.
Yeah, I think it's the first book of it. There's one that like just the ending, I hate it, but I love it. And like, she just wants you to, she goes there. I think she goes there in the way that protagonist fails everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Even Freya never gets it right on how she tries to save people. She knows that she doesn't want people to die. She knows that she would like people to live, but she never knows how to get that.
And what I love about that, again, is subverting the trope, because we see this in anime, we see this in video games, that the character who comes into this new power that makes them more powerful than anybody possibly could be, they always know how to use that power. They always have the skill to use it.
Yeah.
Whereas here, Freya could be invincible.
Yeah.
But she's a klutz.
I know. She drops the shield. She's like, oh no,
She trips over a rock. Like, she doesn't have the skill to utilize her power to be the shield maiden everyone expects her to be based on a prophecy.
But she wants to be.
And she wants to be. She wants to fulfill it, but she doesn't have the skill to.
That final battle where she just loses it and goes like full murder on everyone, and the singer woman like creates the song about it, and at one point she's like, I like to have you listen to the song, but Bjorn says, I want you to listen to this song. I thought it was going to be hey,
it's not that
respect
bad.
You. Yeah. Like, I totally thought it was going to be like, hey, you're worried everyone hates you. They're looking at you in awe and amazement. You save people. And then Bjorn was like, I kind of wanted you to be horrified. Like, with yourself.
I wanted you to see how terrible that was.
Yeah. I kind of like, you were a psycho. You were a murderer. That was bad.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to feel that. Like, what about... that is not a move you get from a male lead. That's just it's not a thing you do. Of like, I want you to watch this so you can feel like shit.
Yeah. And what I love about it is the male lead is asking the female protagonist to be better.
Yeah. Better by being worse, by not being there. It's like, what is better, right? Is better actively trying to be good, or is better trying to avoid bad?
Right. I mean, on one hand, he does want her to control that side of her, right? He wants to create separation. So that is better.
Yeah.
But then he's like, well, if all else fails, we could just leave. And that's not.
I mean, I don't even think he's like, if all else fails. I think he's a straight up, let's
go.
Because they kind of come to an impasse where he's saying, I can't do this if you're going to still be a tool of my father. And it's not even the conversation, and this is like another clue to me of, oh, he's being sketchy. There's not a moment of, let's figure out how we can overthrow my father.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to be a tool from him, but let's plan. His thing is immediately, we got to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're either in it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then Freya has a very clear understanding of, if I stay, if I try to help, he won't be with me. Now, here's my one note. I don't want to call it a criticism, a note. I think I have to like physically read this book to make it make more sense to me, because I think sometimes whoever the narrator was fantastic. Her voice lulled me to sleep one time, but in like a peaceful way. Where all of a sudden I'm like, how did they get to the top of the mountain? It was only like 10 minutes. I was kind of like in and out. But there's a part at the end where Freya makes this decision of, I'm sorry, Bjorn, I can't leave you. I need to be here, and I need to be the shield maiden. I need to protect. And he's like, you go, I go, babe. That's fine. Let's do this together. And then suddenly she's throwing herself off a cliff. And I'm like, what? Did I miss something?
She realizes that
they're going to be after her forever.
They're going to be after her forever, and that she can't protect everyone, right? Because there are people outside the wall who are trying to get in.
Yeah.
When they follow her instructions to back away from the wall so that they don't get blown off of the shield. Instead, the lightning bounces off of the shield and kills them. And that's when she realizes, I can't protect anybody or everyone. And so it's better if I just kill myself.
I feel like it goes from, I'm on top of a wall trying to protect people, to, where did the waterfall come from? Because she runs away, but it just goes so, there's still a battle happening. So does I know they come after her, and then the person tries to electrocute her or something like that. And then it's like, oh no, I've fallen off. But then he goes with her. I just like the action sequence was a little choppy to me.
Okay, that's fair. That's it.
But I also don't want to say that I don't want to have that firm opinion until I've tried to read it.
Yeah, that's fair. It might be easier reading it at your pace.
Yeah, because she does do action well. I think Danielle is capable of writing action sequences.
Yes,
I think I just needed to focus in a different way.
I think the pacing of the battle sequences is the right pacing, and I think that what she produces in terms of content is also good.
Yeah.
But I agree that it's hard to listen to when the narrator is also speaking in an accent and you're going fast.
An accent I'm not used to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's look at we haven't even gotten into listener thoughts.
I know. While you're pulling up listener thoughts, the other thing I was going to say is it's interesting how Bjorn, who has the blood of a god in him, doesn't seem to have the same self-righteousness that Freya has developed. Because she has convinced herself, because I am unfated, I can therefore help people change their fate.
Yeah.
When I enter the mix, right? And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in book 2, because that is a sentiment that leans more snotty in the, like, I've been chosen by the gods, I can do anything, rather than Bjorn, who is just like, let's just go away. We don't need this.
But isn't that just the nature of her goddess, right? Of Lean?
The protection.
Yeah. But that is why, that's just who she is. He's a flaming axe.
Yeah.
He's just like, let's get in, let's get out. So this is now, should I start with things that people like or didn't like?
Let's start with like.
Okay. Things that people liked. They loved the banter and the dialogue. I agree. I think the two of them were hilarious.
I agree.
I liked Bjorn quite a bit.
I did too. I really enjoyed him. I feel like with these type of tropes of like God chosen and forced proximity, sometimes the guys feel cringy to me.
Yeah.
I liked Bjorn. I liked everything about him.
Yeah, I think what I like about him is I'm kind of tired of these male main characters of being like, okay, I'm going to say something and I'm going to work backwards from it.
Okay.
Supportive. Let me explain.
Okay.
I'm thinking Xaden. The kind that's so like, you could do whatever you want and I support you so much and and you're your own woman, and all of which is true.
Yeah.
And I love it and I support it. But Bjorn was like, ho, you are making stupid mistakes.
Yeah. He didn't have blinders.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. because that's what partnership is about making each other the best version. Not making, but bringing out the best in each other. And Bjorn's like, this isn't your best.
Yeah.
And
I want you to look at yourself.
Her.
Yeah, look at yourself. This sucked.
Yeah. And I would hope that my partner would do that for me too, if I was being an asshole.
But then you also get these little moments. I think what I like is that his committed moments are subtle. When she gets too drunk and he sleeps outside of her tent to make sure no one interrupts her, or when she's in her room for days and then he's like, there's a little bedroll outside because he's making sure that she doesn't hurt herself. I think his devotion to her is subtle, but he still says the most romantic things, right? Like your land for a sailor who's been lost at sea, you're mine even if only you and I know it. I will follow you into Valhalla. He says like there are those romantic things, but the more time we get from him is hey, you kind of suck at this. You need to work harder. You're being a tool. You're being used.
Yeah.
Choose your path.
Right. Because I think he can identify when her actions are a product of someone else's influence rather than someone else also being gods, gods or humans. And he just wants her to be her.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just really like him.
I do too. I think it's one of those things where he sees himself a lot in her, right? He knows that his father sucks. He knows that, she's in a shit situation. He knows what it's like to be taken from somewhere, what it's like to have a god, battle inside you. Like, I think he sees himself a lot in her. And I think he kind of feels like, yeah, but I made it on the other side. I want to show you how to get there, when he doesn't realize that he hasn't made it on the other side. Like, he's got a lot of other issues. Yeah. But like, he wants to kind of guide her. He just isn't able or willing to talk to her about it. Other things that people liked, the mythology of it. You and I have not read anything with Norse mythology. Not like this heavily, I think.
Not this heavily, no.
Yeah. A lot of people like the Norse themes and everything. Someone said it was their favorite read of 2024. I think this is one of my standouts for this year.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably, Quicksilver and this are probably my two major standouts, mainly because I read read Spark of the Everflame last year, but like this one but I expect that from Danielle Jensen. Someone says the very first scene when Freya and Bjorn meet, I think, and again, subverting expectations, you have the main male love interest, first person you see in this book that she meets.
After Froggy.
After Froggy, yeah. Okay, so you're right, after Froggy. But, like, we get him first chapter.
Yeah.
She throws the fish at him. He's charming. He's being funny. And there is no fake lead, fake out. He's not the real love interest. This is, like, he is number one right off the bat. This is what you're getting.
Well, the fake out is Froggy and Snorri. The first
and they're not even, like, and it's more of, like, not even the love situation, just barriers.
Yeah.
That is husbandry. So a lot of people love the Norse and everything. Now let's go into what people
didn't like.
Wait, hold on. There's more. Norse. A lot of Norse. Okay, now what did people not care for as much? Someone saying chapter 1. Why are they already talking about banging? That's funny.
So that it's that type of book.
Someone was like, you need to do Quicksilver. Babe, we did. It's coming out next week.
It has.
Someone says the betrayal at the end. No thanks. That's a very Danielle Jensen thing to do.
Yeah, and Bjorn's mind, it's not a betrayal.
Because he's there to save her and take her to a better life. And it's like, well, if I can just explain this to you.
Yeah, I just haven't had the opportunity to explain, right? I just need you. I know you're going to need time to process. I keep trying to get us away so you have that time.
And it's like, hey, I know you have mommy issues. I have a mommy.
She could be your mommy too.
She could be your mommy. What if I bring you to my mommy and she charms you and tells you to give me a chance? Will my mommy fix your mommy issues? I'll share in a non-step sibling way, but in an in-law way. Yeah, I'm okay with a betrayal at the end. I know it's hard because, people are also talking about the miscommunication trope. I don't think that there was a miscommunication trope really in this book. I think it was just other than withholding, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a whole lot of, I felt like they were fairly honest with their their like attraction to one another. You know,
Yeah.
you get one moment, one fake out moment when they're like inside the mountain and she's like, I'm going to tell him. And then he's like, look, what's over there? And that's very common. That's very popular
Yeah.
to do, you know. But then when she does get the courage, she does tell him. And I feel like other than withholding information, but I don't categorize that as miscommunication.
I feel like you have in the past. I'm trying to decide if that's true.
No.
I don't view it as miscommunication because, and the reason for that is because in my mind, miscommunication is people thinking they've communicated properly and not communicating, or, you know, the subtleties of how things are said, where I wouldn't say Bjorn willfully misled. I don't think I would say he willfully misled Freya, because you can see he hates Snotty. You can see he doesn't like.
Yeah, he never told her you should stay. Like, he never told her this is the right path. He constantly was like, this is a crap situation. He had a game plan in play. Yeah. He had goals that he was trying to achieve, and he was busy being like, damn it, she's not this mass murderer I thought she was going to be. What do I do? You know, and so like there's like that working behind the scenes. I think when one party holds all the information, that's not a miscommunication.
Yeah, that's a power difference.
And that's where it is. Freya doesn't have all the information. She knows that she doesn't have all the information, and he knows he has all the information. I really loved that they're in the final cave of this book. I hope there's more caves in the future. I really like that in the final cave, their picturesque running away together unravels in her mind so quickly.
Even before the betrayal is known.
Yeah. Where she's like, how can he be okay with this life? He's talking about, you can teach me how to, you know, plant meat, like to farm, and we'll like, you know, and this, we're going to run after our daughter, which I'm always like, oh, you said daughter. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, well, what about Valhalla? I'll die with like a little fork in my hand, you know, to like save her from the rabbits. Freya is already picking up on this just doesn't feel right. He's going to resent me. Am I going to resent him? Like, are we capable of like, yes, we ran away. We did it. They're not going to catch us. We just had really hot sex. I probably came for the first time. Okay, now what?
Right. And what I liked about that, not just she's sensing, her spidey senses are tingling. They haven't had a long-term healthy relationship with one another. They don't have the trust that is required to believe realistically that things will work out.
If they had been scheming behind Snotty's back for months, right? If they had come to that committed relationship of saying, you know what, I don't know what, but we need to figure this out and we need to be working with each other. And like, we may not know what we're going to do behind his back. I'm not saying that we kill him, but we need to like figure out a way that we can be free. They were never on the same team necessarily with the same aligned goals, because they're on the same team, but they don't have aligned goals. So how can you really be on the same team when you don't know what you're working towards? And to your point, running away together of we did it, it would feel cheap because what comes next? Like, there's no foundation to really build upon other than like, I love them, they love me, but that's not makes a relationship. There's so much more to it.
And sometimes that's just not enough.
Exactly. And again, a very Danielle Jensen thing to do of like making you feel uncomfortable. She provided that happy ending. And before we found the betrayal, she made us feel uncomfortable in the happy ending.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It is. It's talent.
It's talent. Because it's all realistic to me. There's a line that she says when she's saying he's hiding something. And he doesn't, at that point, I think he had done a good job of like not saying that he was hiding something. She was like, I feel like he is. And then at that point, he was like flat out not telling her something. And she said, I know it's bad because he would tell me to calm me down. Yeah. And that was the final thing that I think made her realize the degree of what he's hiding, because he has always put her first.
Yeah. And this is the only time he hasn't.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved that ending. I'm a sucker for it. Let's see. It was predictable. Sometimes it works, but this one kind of fell flat for the cliffhanger. If someone wants more, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's a preference thing.
Yeah.
Right? There are certain types of cliffhangers that I love, and there are others that I don't. I happen to like this one, but I could see how it would fall flat with someone else, because especially it's easy to pick up that Bjorn is hiding something the whole time.
You know, there's a betrayal. Like, you know, something's going to happen. You are in the final
pages and you're waiting for that shoe to drop.
Right. And you kind of expect the third act breakup to happen before the end of the book, and instead it's happening right at the end of the book.
Yeah, it's deteriorating and it's just kind of like crumbling. It really is like a deterioration, right? Like it feels like you're holding sand and it's seeping through your fingers. That's not a cliffhanger, right? It's not like all of a sudden the sand drops at once and you're just like, what? The sand's gone, right? Like you can just feel it slowly going through and you know something's about to happen. And that does take away the worry of it, the like the shock factor, because you know something's coming. But I enjoy the act of it. I enjoyed the feeling of that. The passage of time felt weird, felt rushed, but also unsure of how much time had passed traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like it only was like maybe 2 weeks, but I don't know that that's true.
Yeah. There were parts that, again, I would have to tell with reading versus listening that it definitely felt like where did we get to? How did we get here? How did we get from protecting to jumping over a waterfall? Where did we land here? And there was plenty of moments of like, even when they made it through the mountain and they were at the temple and then all of a sudden Naughty and all his people showed up and it's like, where did you guys come from? It was like, wait a minute, what? So I agree. The passage of time is weird. I wasn't quite sure of certain pieces moving. I would have to read it to kind of tell you if it made sense or not.
Yeah, I agree.
Couldn't tell. I think there's just like a couple of people, there's like more instances that they needed more clarification. Like they couldn't tell who could enter the tent or not. They couldn't tell where did they end up from one place to another. So these are more confused moments rather than all around.
Overall about the book.
Overall, yeah. And then someone said like that it didn't live up to the hype and that they found it predictable and that they didn't really care for the FMC. I think that this book, few times was I surprised. Like for the most part, I could see it playing out. The only thing that kept me on my toes is the fact that she likes to subvert the tropes and she likes to kind of like push it a little bit. And that's not necessarily a plot twist for me. That's just, it's all more subtle differences that makes a lot.
Yeah, I think for me, what I love about this book, because I agree, nothing was a surprise.
Yeah.
The way things played out are what I expected based on the way the book was written and based on the clues that Danielle gave us. I think Danielle has excellent follow through. I think she plants the seeds, she follows through with them. I think that this book is about the themes we discussed. I think this book is about who are you when there's god blood in you? Are you capable of having an identity separate from that god or those gods in Freya's instance?
Yeah.
How do you deal with family that are shit? How do you deal with people who are shit? How do you find your place in this world where
fate, we haven't even talked about fate, where your fate is destined for you.
I think she grapples with really hard and realistic questions and complex characters. And that's what I enjoy so much about it. I enjoy the richness of the storytelling of the characters and of the themes.
Agreed. If you can identify the themes, if you can identify what she's doing with this, right? Like because I feel like we picked up on I see what you're doing, like especially with the mother, right? Before we even got to the mom, I was like, wow, you're really withholding information here about this mom. I feel like I should be paying attention to that, right? Like there's a couple of things that you and I could pick up on. The family really sucks. Oh, this is not found family trope, right? Once you kind of identify those themes, because I feel like Danielle Jensen is very like theme based. And like you said, she plants a seed, she sees it through, she plants it, it grows, right? Once you have those, it's a really enjoyable process. Now, if those themes don't speak to you, if those things don't really resonate, if those things like don't do it for you, I don't want to say this, but like if themes, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. So hopefully I'm going to say it. You make it better, Amy.
Okay.
Not all books are theme based. Right. And I'm trying to think of another book off the top of my head that really, I would almost even argue like ACOTAR is not a theme based book. There's a lot. I mean, there is in some sense. I know. Help me through this.
So
it is because we talked about themes in there. So I take that back.
I was going to say, I think ACOTAR, I think A Court of Thorns and Roses is theme based. I would say Wings and Ruin is plot based.
Yeah. Yes. I would also say, Throne of Glass, plot based.
Yes. Throne of Glass. heavily.
So that's the
heavily
comparison.
plot-based.
I think let's look at for like, you know, if no one's read those two books, then this doesn't make sense. But like, let's compare Throne of Glass versus ACOTAR.
Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yeah. The first book, not the, because I don't want to, I want to identify first books, not like series.
Books. Yeah.
A Court of Thorns and Roses, you have a lot of themes. It's like, you know, family disappointing you. What do you do with that? How do you know, not knowing how to accept love, never being loved before, food insecurity. You have those themes that you see through. Throne of Glass, a lot more plot, and there's a lot more subtlety to themes.
Yeah.
And the big thing when it comes to theme-based books is that there's both subtlety and not much surprise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Thorns and Roses was extremely subtle. People hate that book until
in comparison.
In comparison. But once you see the themes, you gain an appreciation for what Sarah J. Maas did with that book. And I think that's the same for A Fate Inked in Blood. If you look only at the plot,
not much.
It's not really a story you want to tell. It's not a story you want to listen to. But if you're paying attention to the themes, if you're paying attention to how the characters change because of circumstances and the themes that surround them, it's fascinating. I think it's very well done.
Absolutely. And if that's just not your preference,
that's okay.
Then that's okay. And that's just like another thing for like, hopefully people can kind of walk away from listening to this is like people, I think hopefully being better readers, and not in the sense of being a better readers where you're seeing what we like and therefore you like it too because we are like the holder to it. Better readers in the sense of like, you know what, this is what I didn't like. And, you know, we'll go back to From Blood and Ash, heavy plot.
Yeah.
Not our favorite. Like you and I, Amy, tend to go much more themed base.
Theme and character.
Yeah.
Right.
Neither is right, neither is wrong. It's just totally a preference. This is just more of something where hopefully you guys hear something from this. And then, you know, if you have a conversation in the future, you can use it and be like, well, I like theme based or I like plot based or I like both.
Or even I can see that this book has the theme of X.
And that doesn't do it for me.
And it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And that's okay.
And that's all right. And we still love you. Always.
Always.
All
right. Shall we wrap?
Yeah, I guess that's it. God, I will never be used to this. All right. Scene. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Stay tuned for a special episode this Thursday where we interview friend of the podcast, Gabriel Michael, voice actor you may recognize as Graphic Audio's Lucian Van Sarah and Zayden Ryerson.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you'd like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss later this spring, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye. Okay, so I guess we're gonna, I want to start with this. I want to start an apology to our listeners because we have upset the short community with tall husbands.
Petite women community.
The petite women community with their tall husbands. I'm posting this on social. So I am the amount, and we got more today, the amount of short women who have tall husbands who has sent us their messages going into detail about the intimate relationships that they have. Chef's kiss. I just, to me, I'm like, wow, that says something about us and our listeners with the amount of sharing that they're doing.
It's true. It's true. It's a safe place. It's a safe place.
It really is. So, yeah. Any words in this apology, Amy?
Yeah. You know, I live to be proven wrong. And so thank you for proving us wrong and being willing to be vulnerable with us.
Yep. Yep. And thank you for one of the messages that said, I don't think he can, because I want to post this on social. I don't think his blank
eggplant
his blank is close enough to my two blanks to be able to boat of some kind with his.
I don't think his eggplant is close enough.
We can't say eggplant. It gets flagged. It gets flagged.
Cucumber?
Okay. His hot dog and your mountains
aren't close enough together for him to
hot dog your mountains. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot today. So thank you, listeners.
Thank you for the anatomy lesson.
Absolutely.
As most people can guess, commuting in LA sucks. And so I've started taking the train. And the best thing about that is I get to read my romance books on the go.
And if you're like me and you're not commuting, you like to stay up till 2 a.m. reading Galatea, trying to get one more chapter.
Galatea is a reading app where anyone craving a little me time can dive into a library of romance stories that leave you feeling recharged and fulfilled.
There are over 1,000 bestsellers to choose from, and if you can't figure out what you want, they have Shifter Romance, Bad Boy Billionaire, Forbidden Love, Werewolf Alpha, Slow Burn Fantasy, Teen Drama, and so much more.
Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, with new chapters dropping daily, so there is always something new to explore.
Don't worry, you're not going to be alone. Over 30 million people have fallen in love with reading on Galatea. Join now to indulge in stories that make you feel like yourself again.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to galatea.com/booktalk.
That's GALATEA.com/BOOKTALK to indulge in unlimited stories for even less.
That's galatea.com/booktalk.